Got a bowl game tomorrow, the Citrus Bowl with Michigan and Alabama. And I think this is a great matchup to watch. Anytime that Alabama's involved, you're going to have to take notice. Alabama, according to one of the websites I went to, has 11 of the top 100 prospects coming into the NFL draft this year. 11 of the top 100. So my math is simple on this one. That's 11% of the draft prospects are from Alabama, University of Alabama. That's a lot of talent, an awful lot of talent. 3 of those guys are wide receivers. One of those guys is a quarterback. I think there were a couple of offensive linemen out there as well. They are absolutely positively loaded. However, in the game tomorrow against Michigan, they won't have Tua Tagovailoa. They'll have Mac Jones. Mac Jones has played a little bit of mop-up duty in his time at Alabama, but it's not to say that he's some awful quarterback. I mean, he was a 4-star recruit who chose to play at Alabama. And this year he's completed 70% of his passes. He's got 11 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. He's been pretty good, considering that it's mop-up duty, although he did have to start late in the season. Wasn't good enough for them to beat Auburn. And as a result, that team is not playing for a national championship. It's the first time since the college football playoff came about that Alabama is not taking part of it. They weren't in the semifinal games, which is amazing to see what Nick Saban has built at Alabama. I went back and looked at the 2017 recruiting class. Had 29 recruits, which is an extraordinary number of recruits. What Alabama does is what a lot of teams do. They oversign, and then they take scholarships away from other players so that they can accommodate for oversigning. What people may not know is that scholarships, they're a renewable thing. You don't automatically get a 4-year ride. You get a 1-year scholarship, and it's renewed year after year, provided, of course, you keep up with the standards of the university and a football program. It's a dirty little secret, and players are released from their scholarship all the time. And Alabama does it as much or maybe more than anybody else. So that's how they're able to sign 29 players in a single class. Of those 29 players in 2017, the 2017 class, only 3 of them were not 4 or 5-star players. Only 3. So when you talk about a Michigan class that has, a great class, they've got 7 4-star players. It's a great class. Or Michigan State, that great class they had back in 2016 where they had all the 4-star players, at least from ranking-wise anyway, from the services like Rivals or Scout or whatever. It looks good on paper. 26 of the 29 were 4-star or better. The 3 that weren't, one was a kicker. One was an offensive lineman from the state of Alabama who had great offers anyway. And the other was an athlete, and I'm not sure what position he ended up playing. May have been a punter. I don't know. But it doesn't really matter. The point is 26 out of 29 were 4-star. Alabama has been a recruiting machine. They've done it. Every position possible. They've been hit by the transfer portal. They've lost assistant coaches every single year. Colleges come calling, universities come calling to say, hey, we want your assistant coach to take over our program, or we want your wide receivers coach to become our offensive coordinator, or whatever the case is. It's happened to them time and time again. That's the cost of success if you're Nick Saban. And yet they continue to have that machine cranking. And this is the first year they don't make the college football playoff. They're going to be without a couple of players in the game tomorrow. A couple of guys going to sit out because they have declared for the NFL draft. That's defensive back Trayvon Diggs and pass rusher Terrell Lewis. They're going to sit out. Both are expected to be first or second round picks in the upcoming draft. The only player from Michigan that's sitting out in this game is Tariq Black. I believe Drumfor and Turner, those are 2 players that aren't playing, but they're hurt. So that's a different story with them. So Michigan's got a pretty healthy crew, and good for them. They got everybody going. And, of course, they have the bad taste in their mouth from losing against Ohio State. But here's another opportunity in front of them where they could really come away feeling good about themselves. It's Alabama. And no, it's not Tua. It's Mac Jones. But you can't tell me Auburn feels differently about beating Alabama because Mac Jones played quarterback instead of Tua. Doesn't matter. It's still Alabama. No, they're not going to play with a couple of their top picks, but they've got 9 other guys that are expected, or I should say 8 other guys because Tua's not playing. 8 other guys that are expected to go in the top 100 players that will be playing in this game. And that's just for this upcoming draft, let alone players they have that are underclassmen that are outstanding. Alabama's absolutely loaded. So the game would mean something to Michigan if they win it. I would call this a big game. And this is where the question comes, because a lot of Michigan fans, they're torn on Jim Harbaugh. I understand why they're torn. Jim was brought in, thought of being as the Messiah. He was the savior. This was the guy that was going to absolutely put Michigan football right back on the map, be where they belong with the Blue Bloods. They're going to be competing for national championships year after year after year, winning Big Ten championships, and none of that has happened. The closest they came was the second year, and they came up just short against Ohio State at Ohio State. Friendly spot, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. The game was over, and Ohio State ends up winning that game. And Michigan has not beaten Ohio State. This is no secret. 5 years, we know what's going on. It's been the one thing that Harbaugh has not been able to accomplish. Well, he has been able to accomplish a lot of other things, but none of those other things can happen until you beat Ohio State. You can't win a Big Ten championship until you beat Ohio State because you're not going to get to the Big Ten championship game representing the Big Ten East unless you beat Ohio State. You can't get to a college football playoff championship in the semifinal game. Typically, you're not going to do that unless you win your conference and you win your conference championship game. Yeah, they haven't done that. And those are the shortcomings. But it starts and ends with them being able to beat Ohio State. Ohio State is one of those teams that reloads every year like Alabama does and like Clemson has done. Dabo Swinney's done an amazing job. Nick Saban's done an amazing job. Urban Meyer did an amazing job, and now Ryan Day is taking that over. And this is the first time they're licking their wounds that they didn't win a game. And they should have won the game. They outplayed Clemson, but they came up short. But when it comes to Michigan and Jim Harbaugh, in this game, will the haters of Harbaugh that are Michigan fans, will you admit that this is a big game or no? Will you say it doesn't matter because it's not Tua, it's not the full complement of players at Alabama? Because I would disagree with that. I think it is a relatively full complement of players. It's not the quarterback. I get that. But it doesn't take away from being still a big game because it is Alabama. And Alabama's always been about the next guy up. One of those receivers goes out, it's all right, they got another one to come in. Running back goes out, it's all right, they got another guy to go in. Offensive lineman, guys in the defense, next man up. That is what Alabama does. They reload. And Mac Jones is a very capable quarterback. Again, Auburn's not feeling bad about their win over Alabama because they beat Mac Jones and not Tua Tagovailoa. It doesn't matter. So will Michigan fans allow this to be a big game? Or is only a big game if they lose? 248-539-9797 is a telephone number.